Good evening. It's 7 o'clock. Welcome to the MSD of Martinsville School Board meeting. We thank you for being here in person or virtually. I'm Matt Hankins, President of the School Board. To my left is Heather Staggs, Vice President. To her left is Luke Jackson, Secretary. Dan Conway is usually to Luke's left. He is out of town this evening. And to Dan's left is Board Member Jackie Decker. To my right is Superintendent Eric Boland, and to his right is Assistant to the Superintendent, Mrs. Susie Lips. If you would all stand for a Pledge of Allegiance and moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. This meeting tonight is a special session for a budget hearing. So I'll turn the meeting over to Eric Boland, our superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Hankins. Can you hear me okay back there? Okay. Tonight, we have the budget hearing. Mr. Staley is usually the one that presents that, but Mr. Staley is out of town. However, we do have him virtually. I will go over the slides and he'll correct me if I miss something. It's like a quiz or a test for me here to make sure I understand the budget process is what he's doing to me, I think. Put me under the fire. So we'll go through this. It's an opportunity to give you an overview of the process that we have, what our next steps are, and also it will give us an opportunity to have some public comment on the budget, okay? The action on the budget will actually be taken in October. So if we go through the slides then, if you can go ahead and forward for me there, Ms. Van Devender. We have the first thing that just talks about the purpose of the budgeting process. I'm not going to read through all this or anything like that. It's a 30,000-foot overview. So that's what we're going to do here tonight to give you an idea of what is statutorily required for us in order to do a budget in a school system, which is a lot different than what you have at home. Believe me, to understand it sometimes it's an arduous task to say the least. But we work with the DLGF, which is Department of Local Government Finance, and that is the group that basically sets our rate. So just so you know that, we don't set it. They will be the ones that will actually set it for us after we're done with our advertising of the budget itself. So if we move on, we have a public hearing. That's what we do here. Then the next one will be in October, next meeting. And you see it says the 10th, October 10th. It's moved up a week because of fall break. So make note of that on your calendars. It's October 10th this year, or this next month. And that will be when we actually take action on the budget. That's when the vote actually occurs. Then at the end of the year, the DLGF, they will be the ones that will actually give us our 1782 notice, which is actually the budget. And that's where the rate is set and everything is done for us, okay? So as we move through the slide, the budget cycle, it just goes through that this is an 18-month process. This is why it's different than you have in a school. It takes a look at the last 6 months, and then it takes a look at the next 12 months. You all know what you're going to be doing in the next 12 months, right? You take a look at the last 6, and you take a look at the next 12, and you try to predict to the best of your ability on what your needs are going to be, what might happen. Tomorrow is the anniversary of a tornado. Those type of things happen. You don't plan those type of things. So the budget, you're not planning for tornadoes, but you are trying to plan to be able to take care of contingencies. So that's part of the whole process, okay? So just wanted to put that out there to you. Moving forward, he put on here that you plan high because there are many unknown costs, just like we said with the tornado, for example, and the unforeseen issues, the emergencies, the unfunded state mandates, they're going to be going into session. You don't know what they come out with. You don't know how that's going to impact schools. And there are often unfunded mandates that occur, and we have to have a budget to be able to take care of those issues. So that takes care of the expenditure column. So we plan high on the expenditures, and then on revenue, we plan low. We don't forecast high revenue. We're very, very conservative on this end. Okay, so you're trying to meet a balance. That's what you're trying to do. That's why it's almost like making sausage, knowing how the sausage is made sometimes can be something that'll turn your stomach, but it is an arduous process. That's why we use Baker Tilly, and that's why we have Bose McKinney experts to help us in budgeting, in bond procurement, all these type of things. All right, so that's why Mr. Staley's on the line in case I really flub up. We need the experts to make sure that we take care of things, okay? So we plan low on the revenue. We look at the ADM count. That has to be taken into consideration. ADM count for our public, that's the student count that we have. And we have that twice a year. We have it in October and we have it in February. But in a budget cycle, it's actually 3 because you have October or the February of this past year, last 6 months, right? So you're looking at that, you're looking at October, and then you're looking at February. So the ADM for us, for example, if we're down, then our money, the amount of money we get in that year is reduced. And right now, our ADM is down about 102 students. So that impacts our income for our budget, for the the education fund. That's what takes care of it. Then we have the operations fund funding. We'll go into that in just a minute. We have the assessed valuation that determines for our operations fund and debt fund. That's what determines those rates and how much money we receive in operations and debt service. Okay. Then we take a look. There's miscellaneous. That's the license, excise, those type of things. Won't go into those details. That will bore you absolutely to death. But the key is we're talking about 18-month window of time that we're taking data and making plans for the next 12. Okay, the proposed budget, take a look at that. If you go one more slide. Here are the appropriated funds that the budget actually pays for. So if you take a look at this, the education fund, that takes care of our classroom expenses, the educational expenses, okay? That is tied to state tuition, which is tied to our ADM count, the student count. That's where that comes from, okay? Then operations fund are our operational expenses. You talk about property, or we get situations like insurance, energy costs. Those haven't gone up any over the last few years. Sarcasm inserted. Okay, that didn't get the chuckle, Jay, that we wanted, just to tell you that. But the property taxes, we also transfer because our debt service fund has always been historically low. We transfer 15% of our education fund, which is to pay teachers and classroom aides. We transfer 15% to our operations fund to keep it solvent, because we have historically used the operations fund to maintain the buildings and not the debt service fund, because Martinsville has historically been really, really low in our debt service fund. We were at 16 cents. I spoke with a group of superintendents last month, and we were talking budget, we were talking assessed valuation, and whenever I shared with them that our debt service was 16 cents when I walked in, they all had their chins hit the table. And they asked, how in the world have you guys been operating? I said, well, we've been using the operations fund for 20 years. And they're like, how do you pay your bus drivers? How do you pay the custodians and the maintenance and all that? I said, it becomes a battle. We have to transfer 15% from education fund to help make that solvent. That's the battle we've had. So board, what you've done trying to move that rate up last year is so instrumental in us being able to take care of our buildings and take care of our facilities, and then also try to protect that education fund moving forward. So I'm not, Jay, I told you I wouldn't go into great detail on that, but let's now move to the proposed 2025 appropriated budget that will be advertised. And the biggest thing on this, it takes into consideration our total budget, the total levy, the advertised rate. And the important part I want you to take a look at is to the right where you see the last 2 years. The advertised rate is high, but what usually gets appropriated is much lower. If you look in 2023, the advertised rate came in at 65 cents, or the advertised rate was 74.9 or 74.91. It came in at 65.30. So that's where the DLGF got in, worked their magic, and did all their fiscal machinations, and they came out with the 65.30. This last year, we advertised 94.61 on the rate, and it came in at 79.29. Okay, so 79.29 is what it came in at. We have an advertised rate of 109.76. The projection with all the things that Baker Tilly does with it, we're going to be at the 79.29 area again, maybe a tad lower. That's where it looks like it will come in. Okay, so that's the advertised budget as it sets. Jay, if they have questions, I'll have you answer that here at the end, because that gets into some tricky stuff. But just so people don't freak out, it's not going to be 109.76. However, I would tell you as superintendent, if it was 109.76, we would get up to the state average, which is actually 105. We'd be just a tick over the state average, and we would be 2 cents higher than Monrovia, which is at 107. We are at 79 cents. Pretty good value, if you ask me, for what we are able to, what we're able to accomplish. Education fund is the next one that Mr. Staley has on our slideshow. And you can see the breakdown. About 91%, a little over 91%, he's telling me something here, is for payroll, personnel. That's what education fund takes care of. That's paying our teachers, paying our aides. That's what takes care of it, the education fund. That's why it's important for us to try to limit how much we transfer from education fund to the operations fund, because we move money out of the education fund, which could pay teachers. And whenever you're paying $10,000 less than area districts for teachers, this is why. Because we have historically been taking care of buildings out of operations and not out of debt service. That has been to the detriment of our teachers. So that's what the board is trying to tackle, and that's the shift we've made since they brought me on. This is my 3rd year now. That was the task they wanted to tackle, because we don't want to continue shifting 15%. We're talking around over $4 million out of the money that could go to teachers. Just let that settle for a second, right? So that's why the education fund is so important to protect. Operations fund is next, and you'll see the breakdown. It's about 50% with salaries in that area, so it's almost like 50-50 split, and then you get into the equipment, supplies, utilities, insurance, maintenance, the other half of it. So that's how the operations fund is broken down for us, okay? That's why it's important. Bus drivers, maintenance, custodians, that's why it's important for them. They want to get paid as well. That's why it's important to protect the operations fund and not be maintaining buildings, putting on roofs out of operations. You want to do roofs and big projects out of debt service. We've got to quit being proud of having low debt service rate and actually fund our buildings and our facilities so we can take care of our operations fund and our education fund. Okay, just wanted to touch on that. Okay, moving to the next one. Maybe if I can turn the page. There we go. The debt service fund's the one that has been a nemesis for us for years. The rate was raised last year to 39 cents, a little over 39 cents. Our combined rate then went up to 79 cents. That's where the increase in our tax rate came from, was raising the debt service from 25 cents to 39 cents. First year I was here, it was 16, then it went to 25, and the board moved it to 25 and then moved it to 39, trying to do it incrementally. We're still not caught up with state average or our county rivals, except we finally caught up with Mooresville this past year. And if you remember the almost social media mutiny, being upset that we actually got up to our county neighbor Mooresville, nobody was mutinied in Monrovia and Eminence who were higher than us. Interesting, but that's social media keyboard warriors at work. I will talk about them maybe a little later when we get into school safety, not in this budget hearing. But you'll see that we have debt coming off, and that's where this project that the board has proposed comes into play. To be able to fund our buildings, the maintenance of our buildings, be able to take on a task like building a new facility and being in a position to close down and repurpose or do something else with other old buildings, so we're not putting all those funds into old infrastructure. That's what the debt service is for. So if you go to the next slide, you'll see that's what the proposed lease rental payments would be for the next 20 years with the bond and the project, the lease agreement that the board is taking on. And once again, I'll state this, and I thank the board publicly many times about taking on this task, about addressing the debt rate and addressing the facility needs. We went to every building and did a facility assessment with DLZ, traveled to every building, looked in every closet and room, flooring, ceiling, lighting, HVAC, everything. And that's what was driving it. The board has taken this very, very seriously. And they've sat down with us and we've come up with some ideas to move our district forward to make an impact for the next 25 to 50 years, because our old facilities, the new high school is coming up on 50 years old. Our newest building was built in 1990. That's our newest building. And we have several really old buildings with an infrastructure. Mr. Stout could tell you about the pipes and the infrastructure that you don't see and how deteriorated some of those are. And that's why we want to use debt service to address those needs and not the operations fund. So that's why you saw the board raise the rate last year. This project we're getting ready to do will not cause us to raise the rate. It allows us to do some great things for the foreseeable future. So I wanted to publicly, once again, thank you for taking on that task. No other board's done that yet in the last, well, it's been since 1990. So thank you. And it's not easy to do. You take a lot of barbs and shots yourselves, and I understand that. But they don't get up every morning saying, how can we make it worse for our district? They get up every morning wondering, how can we make it best for our students, staff, and our district? So I applaud you for that. Thank you for your confidence you put into us to try to come up with a plan to impact our future for the next 25 to 50 years. So appreciate it. Okay. Going to next steps. We've already talked about where we've been, the 18-month projection, the high watermark, conservative approach, our advertised versus approved. We've already done that. The next step will be the board meeting in October and that's whenever the board will actually vote on the budget that will be advertised. Okay, at this point, Mr. Hankins, we'll go ahead and open it up for any questions I think he has or comments regarding the public or the budget.
Budget. Courtney, do we have anybody to speak on the budget?
Yes, Bill Mitchell.
Okay, before he speaks, let me read. A visitor that wishes to speak regarding an agenda item may do so at the discretion of the president of the school board. The visitor will be required to state his or her full name and be given the opportunity to speak, not to exceed 3 minutes per person. In an effort to fairly adhere to the 3-minute guideline for all speakers, we will present a timer on the interactive panels. Board members will listen to the speakers but will not engage in back and forth conversations. Board feedback or answers to questions will be provided before the next board meeting or at the beginning of the next board meeting. At the conclusion of 3 minutes, speakers will be asked to return to their seats. It shall not be permissible to orally present or discuss complaints against individual employees of the MSD of Martinsville at any Board of Trustees meeting. Such charges or complaints shall be presented to the Board of Trustees in writing and shall be signed by the person making the charge or complaint. Boisterous conduct shall not be permitted at any meeting of the Board of Trustees, nor will any defamatory or abusive remarks be tolerated. We appreciate everyone's civility in maintaining a business order as it has been the practice at school board meetings. Mr. Mitchell?
Good evening, school board members. Bill Mitchell, trustee for Clay Township, so I work on budgets. So I don't think you guys are going far enough. I think you should close down 2 to 4 more schools because we don't have the population. We've got open doors on some of these old school buildings that we're just throwing money through open doors that you can't control, and it's costing more money to keep them open and going than it would be just to build 1 or 2 new school buildings with better capabilities. I don't like paying taxes, but I don't want to deny our children a good education with higher paying teachers and everybody more happy to do than just work on a tight budget with nobody happy about anything. We've lost many teachers over the years. We don't have enough money. They go someplace else. So we've closed down more schools. We're the largest school corporation in Morgan County that has the most schools, and we're going down on students. Now tell me how that plans out to be mathematical correct. We need more schools closed, more school consolidations into smaller areas. We may have to give up some of our local communities, but we need people wanting better communities. At Brooklyn, I drive up Brooklyn. We got 75 to 100 kids coming in every day up there out of Morgan County schools in other counties, Beech Grove, Danville, into Brooklyn schools because of the education and the higher education up there on STEM. But that is one of my points of view. Is you guys need to go further. If you've already kicked the can, don't let it stop halfway. Go all the way to the end of it. We're going to have to pay taxes one way or the other. We can't stop taxes. We all want better education for our children. We all want better salaries for us. We can't live like we're living and we're losing people. So just keep on kicking the can down the road. And then that would benefit everybody else. And when you got old school buildings and the septic system's not working right, the water system's not good, you need to change that because we're worried about our health and stuff. And you can't just go out and stick a well in the ground anymore. I myself found out this year I have contaminated water on our rural water. I had to put a filter system in my house. My water's a whole lot better. Something new on the old system. This particular thing worked, but a lot of things doesn't work that way. You can't just fix the Band-Aid on sometimes. So I'm going to speak from experience of just spending a little bit of money on a new thing in my own house to make my life better. So you might want to think about that but just don't kick the can halfway. If you're going to do it, make it better for taxes for the future because taxes are going to keep going up. We keep demanding more stuff from everybody. So let's make it good enough to keep us going and everybody else will be happy. And okay, another good thing, since Martinsville is such a small school, hooray for the football team this year. Hooray for the football team.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Courtney, do we have any other speakers? Okay, thank you. Well, I think that concludes this portion of the meeting. So do I have a motion to adjourn the budget hearing?
Motion we adjourn the budget hearing.
I'll second that, Matt.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn the budget hearing. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Meeting adjourned. Next, we move on to our regular session board meeting. Again, I'd like to welcome you for the regular board meeting. So, Courtney, do we have any public comments on agenda items for the regular session? No? Okay. Moving on is the public hearing on the building corporation lease amendment, and Jacob McClellan with Bose McKinney will be speaking.
Sure. Jacob McClellan with Bose, McKinney, and Evans. So I'll just give you kind of a high-level overview. Later in your agenda, there's a resolution that would approve a lease amendment with your building corporation. This is part of the large project that we've been talking about the last several board meetings, and we are at the point where we need to consider an amendment to the lease. If you'll recall, the building corporation will issue bonds on your behalf. They have some leased premises that they lease back to you. The school makes payments to the building corporation, but really they make payments to a trustee, and those payments are used to service the debt service on the bonds. The building corporation met earlier tonight and adopted a similar resolution that you guys will have later to consider. And this is the kind of the second to last authorization step. Prior to this hearing, we put out a notice. It's a 30-day notice that's required by statute. The purpose of the public hearing is to take comment, again, another opportunity to take comment on the project and the lease. The lease that accompanies the resolution, the amendment to the lease, amends your 2016 lease, and as part of the financing, we'll amend your 2016 bond documents to add in these bonds. And the lease payments under that amendment, again, will line up with the lease payments on the bonds that you all issue. It's important to note that the amendment to the lease includes not to exceed amounts, so Baker Tilly provided those for us. What will happen is, assuming everything passes tonight, we'll be back in October, and we'll have some forms of bond documents for you all and for the building corporation. And then we'll work with Baker Tilly to market the bonds. Once the bonds are sold, there'll be closing documents with the final numbers from the purchaser filled in, and there'll be an addendum to that lease. And that addendum will list the actual bond payments, and they will fall in line with, or the actual lease payments, they will fall in line with the payments on the bonds. So assuming everything is adopted tonight and the lease is executed, there's another notice that goes out, and we have to wait 30 days. If somebody wanted to challenge it, there's another 30-day period to challenge the lease. And we'll be through all your authorizations probably by around October 25th is what we projected. And I think the idea is to issue probably by the end of the year. So with that, I know you guys have been through this multiple times at multiple board meetings, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Do you have any questions, board members?
So
Thank
now
you.
would be the time to take public comment. But
Okay. Do we have any public comment? Or anybody like to speak? Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on. Do
Go
we-
ahead and move to close it.
Okay, we will close that. And next, we'll move to the consent agenda, or did you have I thought we had a recognition.
That's going to happen in the curriculum report.
Gotcha. We'll go on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion from the consent agenda? Do I need to close out the public hearing?
Yes, please.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion we close the public hearing.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Next, we have up the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I have a motion to approve the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
I'll second that, Matt.
I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
With that, Mr. President, I would like to acknowledge in the consent agenda, we have the hiring of 2 co-directors for transportation. And I know that one was here earlier. Is Mr. Beaton back there? And Ms. Callahan. They are our co-directors for the Transportation Department, which with that, Mr. Beaton, means that coming up here with inclement weather, you get to be with me on text messages at 4:30 to make sure that we are good with the roads and stuff. So welcome aboard on that. But let's give them a round of applause and a welcome to Transportation Co-Directors. Thank you all for that. The next item is item E, which is field trips. We have Aaron Wolf going to San Diego to participate in the Project Lead the Way. One of their trainings, no cost to the district. If you've been paying attention to our STEM, you know, Mr. Mitchell mentioned our STEM at Brooklyn and the initiative that we've had K through 12 in the district over the last couple years. This year, we were recognized as a distinguished Project Lead the Way district. So we are very proud of that effort. Very, very happy with that designation. We have a couple of STEM coordinators who have worked really hard on that. Ms. Gooden and Ms. Adams have been very instrumental in moving us forward there. So I want to thank them publicly. But with this, no funds expended by the district. It's a no-brainer. We earned this for being distinguished and having Ms. Gooden participate as well.
I'm glad it is no cost and able to participate. Why is it no cost?
Because of us earning
Distinguished.
some of that with
We have-
Ms. Gooden, I think is going to be speaking there and participating, and they're really happy with what we have done. I'm not arguing with them.
Yeah.
Whenever they said that you're going to be able to take care of this, I was like, yes, how many can we send? You know, that was the next question, right? So that's why they are acknowledging the fact that we have been in this and we jumped in with both feet. We did it with fidelity, and we're doing a fantastic job. So I want to commend them, as I said, and I think it'll be a great conference. They'll bring back some more great ideas as we continue to improve our delivery of Project Lead the Way.
I just want to, I was there last year when the superintendent of public instruction came to all the areas, went on and on about how Martinsville was leading the way statewide. So I really appreciate the hard work from Sharon Gooden, from Shannon Adams, and all those people at all levels of our school district. It's amazing what the students are learning.
We are just scratching the surface. We really
Yes.
are. And we've got bigger plans. We've got more ideas, and we're going to keep moving it forward.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the field trip or the professional travel for Project Lead the Way Summit for Aaron Wolf?
I'll make a motion, Matt, to approve the PLTW Summit for Aaron Wolf.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the PLTW Summit for Aaron Wolf to attend in San Diego, California. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Next, we have the Curriculum Instruction and Assessment Report, Mrs. Lips.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. Tonight, to introduce our Curricular Showcase Program of the month will be John R. Wooden Middle School Principal Fred Cutriff. Please welcome Mr. Cutriff.
Thank you, Board and Eric. I'm really excited to talk about this program. I know Mr. Jackson was over about a month ago to see our Paxton Patterson room, which we're going to come up with a name for it. The Paxton Patterson is the company that we went through, but a little history. Probably last February, Ron Dunn at the high school had gone to a conference and met with Eric and talked about what a great program we could have possibly for our middle schoolers. And Eric was fired up about it. And then we had the person from Paxton Patterson come in, do a was fantastic. But Eric and I had worked, we still work together, but worked many years together at the middle school. And we'd always talk about how do we light a fire under some of these kids just to let them see what's out there. You know, we can take them over to the high school and show them all the neat things that are happening over there. But sometimes they don't see the forest because of the trees or vice versa. I don't know how that saying goes. But so anyhow, we had a program that I want to thank the board and Eric. It wasn't cheap. And we have probably one of the classic labs. Basically, it's about 18 or 19 modules from anything from welding to 3D graphics to, I walked in today and a student was all fired up. Come here, Mr. Cutroff. He was doing an engineering, he had engineered a bridge and he had got the pressure to like 13 pounds. And I said, well, what did you use? He was telling me about I-beams. And if I was clueless, which happens quite often. But it was just exciting and going around and watching the kids. Last week I went in and got a checkup. I had a couple of nurses or doctors of the future, checked my blood pressure, checked my heart. They went through and did a little diagnosis. So it was really cool. So when we put this together and we invite people to come over and see our lab, it's cool, as the kids would say. But who do we put in charge of this thing? And there was someone, and I said Christy Rogers, a part of Paxton Patterson, we just did last week, and said, you guys nailed it on who you put there. And our person that we picked was Kenja Fraley, who is outstanding she started got our TV productions where it is. And so do we move her out there where she's hitting fewer kids? And my opinion was we want her hitting all of her kids to light that fire. So a kid say, I asked a kid today that I had a not so good meeting with last week over discipline. So it wasn't a great conversation. But I was in there today. He was a different kid. I said, what are you thinking here? He goes, well, I'm either going to be a welder or I really I'm thinking about being a chef. So you see all these modules and these kids, I mean, their brains are just turning and you see them leading their own instruction and being guided by, which I'm going to introduce her and let her get more into it because she's the one that's now created it. And the work that she put in the summer, I hardly tell them, I know you didn't charge us enough, but what she did and organized it, basically they came in and set it up and then there's your 19 modules. She had to go for training and the work she's put in to see what's happening with our kids is so exciting. So I'm at this point going to introduce Kenja Fraley, who runs our career. Yeah, exactly. Our career class at the high school. I'm excited to see where this thing goes as far as she will get us involved in the community. I'm just excited to see where it goes. Great job.
Before she says anything, Mr. Cutroff, did you get her signed so she cannot go to Paxton Patterson? Because, yeah, okay.
Well, I know we come together, especially at board meetings and any type of meeting, and I feel like we're always trying to solve a problem of some sort. And again, I was absolutely zero part of bringing this to our school district, so no credit to me at all. But I'd gone to Fred and feeling a little stale and wanting something different, and this is just phenomenal. I know Eric's been over several times, Susie's been over, Luke, you've been over. It is so exciting. This is not a classroom. These kids are really exploring their futures. And I've had different people come in and like, oh, they're learning life skills. They're not just learning life skills. It is not, I kind of sometimes feel offended when people say that because they're actually learning what again, lights their fire. I was sharing this with Fred just a moment ago. I had a young lady who I actually had in class last year. She was not at all really interested in school. In fact, I had a hard time keeping her awake. And just 2 days ago, she came to me and she said, Mrs. Fraley, I think I'm going to study biomedicine. biomedicine out of this 13-year-old's mouth that I couldn't keep awake last year in my classroom. I was just, I was really amazed with that. So again, we've got 19 labs. These kids are really involved. If you ever really want to see organized chaos, come on over. It is amazing. These kids they're doing their own thing. I think the neatest thing though is they're self-driven. When we first started this, they would start into a module. The modules are actually 10 days, and we're about to enter our 4th round next week, and it's taken us about 13 days with our schedule to get through them. But they will start in a module when we first started, and they would raise their hand. I don't understand what I'm supposed to do. I don't understand. And the cool thing is now is they just jump in and they do it. They know that they've got to read some content, but at the end of every single day, they have some activity or some experiment that they are going to engage in. And just the excitement that they're seeing. And the cool thing for me is that this is not about success. So it's not about failing or being successful. It's about, did you like it? Did you like it? I mean, we've got arms over there with fake blood pumping through, and that was really fun to get that blood to pump through there the first time. But we've got fake arms. They're doing blood draws. We're doing sutures. Kyle Stout, thank you so much for the sync. We've got culinary arts, and we started out that first module, and we were doing some protein balls, and we cooked some eggs. Tomorrow, and I've already invited Fred in. We are going to have a competition over smoothies, and then I've got a couple groups doing veggiccini Alfredo. Yes, I said veggiccini. They're going to try a vegan version of Alfredo, and then I've got a group that they're actually making homemade spaghetti noodles. I've never done that. I don't know about you guys, but why would you do that? But these guys are doing that. So just really, really cool stuff. They're thinking outside the box. I have parents calling me constantly like, thank you, this is so great. My kid's been doing this all weekend, and I didn't know that we could do this. The really cool thing about our community as well is I have people, I had 10 pounds of hamburgers sent in this morning from students. I've gotten so many eggs that I don't know what to do with all these farm fresh eggs. It's phenomenal. And I've got adults coming in. Gosh, I wish I had this when I was a kid. And I've got high school kids. I've got 2 high school kids coming right now. I do detention at our school Monday through Wednesday. And I've got 2 high school kids coming over right now, and they're playing in the labs, and they're loving it. So thank you. Thank you for providing this opportunity to our students and lighting their fire to just see what's out there. And I don't have any interest to work for Paxton Patterson right now, but I will tell you that just opening our kids' eyes to all the different things out there and the names of these different careers and all the different things that you can do under that career umbrella is just absolutely phenomenal. I would like to see this grow. I know I'm at John R. Wooden right now in the middle school, and I love that age group, but I would love to see this grow into the high school eventually, and so that we have that vertical alignment, so that everything that we are doing, the kids have an opportunity for that. I'm the non-traditional teacher. I've a business background. And I know we're talking about how we're down 100 kids, and I know we're talking about maybe shutting some buildings down, building a new great building. But I think this is a great selling point for that middle of the ground. We are the very first, and this is kudos to you guys. I didn't know this until I went to North Carolina this summer, but we are the very first school in Indiana to do this. So when we started out this year, I didn't know this again until I went out for my training, but that is really cool. And that's so insightful on your part. And I think that's just such a great selling point for our district. And again, I have one child, she is out of college and past this age group. But again, I love this. I think it's amazing. And please come see what we're doing. The kids are, like I said, they're self-driven. They're just exploding with excitement. They're doing great things. And again, the really cool thing is whether they fail or succeed, they're seeing what they like, and it's opening their eyes. I think we teach kids in kindergarten that you can do whatever you set your mind to, you can do, right? And then we have high school seniors. Oh my gosh, what do I want to do, right? So I feel like this program has really bridged that gap and allowed us, as these kids are here in a couple well, probably a couple months, our 8th graders are going to be meeting with high school counselors to talk about their pathway for high school. And I feel like these kids who are going through this, they may actually have an idea. And that's exciting. Are they going to stay with it? Who knows? Sometimes I don't know what I want to be when I grow up, but they are going to have an idea. And again, their eyes are open to all the different possibilities out there. So I thank you tremendously for allowing the students of our community this opportunity. And again, kudos to us for being the first in the state to do this. So thank you all. I did provide a little video. It's just a few pictures and a couple videos of the students in action. But again, and I know Fred feels the same way. Absolutely. Okay. This is a really cool story. So I have a student, and he's a really, I had this student last year. He's a great student. He tends to be on the negative side, okay? So we have a digital, we have 3D printing. It's called digital manufacturing in our lab. So he goes to town and we first make a ring, and there's some pictures of his ring in here actually. The second thing they do is they create a keychain and they get to put their name on that. And so he comes to me, he's like, Mrs. Fraley, is this all we're going to do? I already have this down, right? So again, he always has this negative side. I'm like, you know what? Your last design brief, I'm going to let you do something different. So he created this multifaceted tool. It's about 3 inches long, and he has like 15 different things that he's put in this tool. It is honestly super cool, and this kid is 13 years old. So he prints it, he gets it going. I think he lives with Grandma and Grandpa. Grandpa takes it to a tool and machine shop. They're like, this is really good. So they're working on printing a metal version of this, and they really think that he may be able to sell this. So this tool and die shop is working on getting this printed as an actual, not just the plastic version. So he is really set, and I told him, like, hey, he asked me, he's like, how do I get this copyrighted, Mrs. Fraley? Like, it's just really cool. Again, and this is a kid who, you know, he's never really had that spark, and he comes in at lunch, and he's leaving his friends because he's got to get this design down. I got to make some money, Mrs. Fraley. Like, he's just really excited. And along those same lines, I struggle. I have an alarm that goes off. We don't do bell work or any of those things anymore because they come in and they go to work, right? So I tell them, this is like your job. This 10 days you're here, next 10 days you're here. But I set an alarm, and normally it's like 5 minutes. We need to start cleaning up. And I'm really struggling to get them go to the next classes. I have a couple teachers that aren't happy with me because they don't want to leave. And I just think that is such a great problem to have. So again, we've got kids that are doing big things, and they really are thinking outside the box and accomplishing big things. So again, thank you.
Thank you, Kenja. I mean, it's easy to see why the kids are excited because you have a fire and a passion for it. So thank you for what you've done too, and kudos to you, Mr. Cuttriff.
Thank
I have to say this, Kenji, you've taken it further than what we had anticipated, what we hoped for. So I want to commend you for doing that. Mr. Cutler, thank you for taking on this task. I know when I called him and said, Fred, we got a great idea, and he's like, what are you going to do to me now, Bolin? That's his response. Bolin, what'd you do to me now? I don't even get a mister. It's just, Bolin, what now? And he, whenever he saw it, we've had those conversations as he alluded to, and he said, I have the perfect person for doing this, and I think we can hit this out of the park. And I wanted to share this thought. This is the type of stuff, whenever Kinja mentioned that we're the first school in the state to do this, this is how we want to do things. That we want to be the first on a lot of things. That's why the project that the board is undertaking is so important. That's what we want to do with our funds, to do these type of things, provide these type of opportunities, and we can do that if we have the necessary funding, because we can outpace other districts. You see what we've done with a less rate. This is the type of thing that we're doing whenever we have an opportunity to do it. So I want to thank you both for being here tonight and showcasing that, and thank the board for having the confidence in us to put something like this together, because this is impacting our students.
In other curriculum areas, I want to give a shout out to the district's pre-K coordinators, Lisa Soniga and Allie Miller, and all of the pre-K teachers and staff who have smoothly implemented the new pre-K programming, which incorporates academics along with free choice play. The curriculum focuses on oral language development, which is the precursor to reading. The MSD of Martinsville is preparing the students to be kindergarten ready, which is the goal of all pre-K programming. So congratulations to our pre-K staff here in the district. Great start. Well, Wednesdays, an update there. Yesterday, the district completed its 8th Well Wednesday for the 2024-2025 school year, as was provided by the state's flexibility waiver for the 3rd straight year. A quick update with that. Well Wednesdays provide teachers with time for collaboration with professional learning communities and with training and professional development that will positively impact student learning. The PLCs give teachers an opportunity to review student work and data, identify best practices, and learn new strategies to ensure students are on track to meet that goal. A sampling of Well Wednesday school activities for teachers this year have been confidentiality training, goal reflection, test security and integrity training, de-escalation strategies review, and ALICE safety training. Next on the list for tonight's curriculum report is the iRead 3 performance results revisited. 3rd grade students took the iRead 3 test in the spring and retakes in the late spring and the summer of 2024. At the August board meeting, I reported that the state average iRead score was 82.5, and the Martinsville School District average of all 7 elementary schools was 87.2. Individually, 6 of our 7 elementary schools scored above the state average, and 3 of the elementary schools scored with a 90% or higher average. Since August, the district's instructional team and principal PLC group have analyzed and synthesized the results. The following is a synopsis of our district's game plan regarding growth, mastery, and achievement for the path to success in 2025. The district this year, as it was last year, is investing in literacy. The district is expanding pre-K programming to support early learning. The district has renewed its partnership with Indiana Learns to connect students with tutors. The district continued its partnership with CIESC to help develop our teacher capacity around the district goal of responding to reading. The district continued its implementation of PLTW, which will provide high-interest nonfiction reading opportunities. All 7 elementary schools are piloting the iLearn checkpoints throughout this school year, so they will have actionable data in real time. The MSD of Martinsville will continue to utilize the district's certified reading specialist to build the capacity of teachers by training them on research-based science of reading practices to ultimately improve students' reading skills. With this training, in 2023-2024, Paragon Elementary School moved from the lowest iRead scoring in the corporation to the highest in just 1 year with the help of a literacy coach and curriculum afforded by the Science of Reading grant. Paragon Elementary will continue that work with the Indiana Literacy Cadre for 2 more years. South Elementary School was also a part of the Science of Reading grant and showed score improvements. This year, South Elementary will pilot the kindergarten readiness assessment to be able to provide early interventions. This school year, the MSD of Martinsville will continue to use professional learning communities with Fidelity at every level to identify gaps and then determine strategies for teaching students the state standards and fundamental testing techniques to improve testing performances at all levels. For example, teachers provide multiple opportunities for authentic practice on standardized base questions in the iRead, iLearn format every day. Lexia and Study Island will be used to compile data for weekly analyzing of students' strengths and weaknesses. Martinsville second graders will have the opportunity again this year to take iRead 2. Therefore, the district's teachers can remediate earlier for needed students. Title I schools are piloting a new research-based science of reading intervention program called UFLI, UFLY. Resources have been purchased with Title I funds for decodable books for all of our Title I schools. Title I teachers meet monthly to discuss data and best practices to help our struggling readers to become more proficient with reading. The MSD of Martinsville will continue networking with community and resource groups to meet students' needs and enrich their experiences in all curricular areas. Looking ahead into October, we will, as a district, facilitate an anti-bullying campaign. During October, all schools in the Metropolitan School District of Martinsville are participating in a district-wide anti-bullying campaign. The purpose of the district's anti-bullying campaign is to educate all students about the various forms of bullying and the steps students and staff can take to help stop bullying. The long-term goal is to eliminate bullying from our schools and to better provide a learning environment where students respect and treat one another with more kindness. We'll do a follow-up in October about that campaign. Thank you, everyone, for attending this evening.
Thank you, Mrs. Lips. And now we're going to move on to old business. Eric
Okay,
Mullins.
just a couple of topics for the public out there, public consumption. The last several weeks has been trying for schools across the state of Indiana and also across the nation, dealing with threats on social media toward our students and toward our schools. And that is becoming troubling for kids, their anxiety level. It's troubling for staff to have to deal with and think about these type of things happening like what happened in Georgia just a short time ago. And what I wanted to touch on, I think I mentioned during the budget hearing about social media. It can be a great tool, but it can also be misused in the worst of ways. One thing I would caution the public with whenever you are becoming a keyboard warrior, we deal with kids. We deal with fragile minds, fragile psyches. We deal with complex issues. We deal with students with some baggage. We deal with some students who just experienced something that's traumatic. We deal with that on a daily basis. And we can't fix something if we don't know about something. Most of the issues that we come across and get screenshot and sent to us on social media, whenever we start investigating it, guess what? It's never been brought to a teacher's attention. It's never been brought to an administrator's attention. It's been brought to the public's attention. To what avail, to what advantage does that do? We're supposed to be a community that helps each other. The teachers that you have in front of your kids every day are just like you. They go to same churches, they go and they're participating in the same clubs, they're participating in coaching of Little League, and whether it's baseball, softball, soccer, whatever, they're doing these things. And that trust that used to be there back whenever I was younger and whenever I started out teaching, we didn't have social media. And as I reflect on it, I think that's the bane of our existence sometimes, because it's a lot easier just to get mad and type something up and send it off and say stuff that you would never say to somebody in person. And that is our challenge. That is the challenge that we're asking you to do. Call us, talk to us. We're approachable. We will address it. If it's an issue with bullying or an issue with conflict resolution, which that's most of them, kids do not have conflict resolution skills like they used to. We live in a reset button society. They play the video games, and if it doesn't go their way, they just hit reset, play it again, then hit reset, play it again, hit reset, play it again. You don't learn conflict resolution that way. And sometimes that's what's raising some of our kids. So I challenge our colleagues, our community members to help us out. Every time we've gone to our community, we've gotten help and support. We have the most caring community that I've ever been a part of. And it's a blessing. Count it a blessing every day to be in this chair and reach out and have people help us to help our kids, because we are all in this together. And those teachers I mentioned sitting in pews beside you and coaching beside you and things of that nature, they get up every morning wanting to come in and help your children or help our children. They're not thinking, oh, I want to go and make this kid have a bad day today. That's not what they do. But we cast aspersions sometimes through social media that that's what we think they're doing. And I'm telling you, you're so far off. Help us help our kids. That's what our plea is for you. So the social media part with all these threats, what we're dealing with, I'm in a text group with neighboring schools having to, shut down or go to e-learning because of threats constantly. We have to get extra police protection. And I really applaud the board. We did this a year and a half ago now for having a safety GO bond where we got new camera system. We have the state-of-the-art camera system with facial recognition and all that stuff to identify people getting on our properties that are not allowed. We have that. That's what we've done with the funds. We've got radios in teachers' hands so they can call for immediate help. We've got vape sensors in the restrooms, which might not mean a lot to people, but the chemicals they put in these vapes are deadly. That's why we invested in it. This board invested in that. We created our own police department so that we have people that we have control of. Whenever we have emergencies, they are taking care of our kids and our staff. We're not relying on somebody else, and we do have great partnerships with local law enforcement. Thank goodness we do, because when something happens, they are there, but they're working with our people as well. So that's what we've done with the funding for it. That's why we have done these things, but we need your help. If you see a threat posted on social media, don't retweet it, don't repost it, send it to us. Send it to our police, local police, county sheriff's department, or our MSD of Martinsville police, or to one of our administrators. Send it to us and let us investigate it and attack it. That's what we need. Instead of reposting it and just putting the threat further and further out there, because we end up getting posts of reposts of reposts. And some of them have come from Georgia and California and other locales. They're not even from here. That's what we're dealing with. And that puts our students and staff and they're not at ease, they're uncomfortable. So you could help us out just by doing that. So I apologize for pontificating there, but it's too important for us not to reach out to our community and get their support. If you see something, say something. Please contact us. Give us a chance. Then if we mess it up, then I'll own it or we'll own it. But give us a chance.
Thank you.
Hope that's okay.
No, I thank you and I applaud you because I feel the exact same way. I couldn't have said it any better.
You probably could have in a shorter period of time, so I apologize.
But definitely, social media needs to be addressed on that issue. Next, we have an action item. Mr. Boland.
Yeah, we have the consideration of the resolution. Mr. McClellan alluded to this with the lease amendment from the Building Corporation that we held at 6 p.m. this evening, which deals with the building project. We had Mr. Mitchell talk about buildings, the number of buildings, just so the public knows. We've not established how many buildings yet. We are definitely looking at facilities, and once we determine the funding and get all that taken care of, then we can figure out what type of car we're going to go buy and what type of programming we're going to do and what type of building project it will be and how many students will be in it, that type of thing. But once again, thank you for putting us in this place to be able to do something that will allow us to be more fiscally sound moving forward. So I want to thank the board for doing that. So at this time, I would request and move that you pass for the resolution for the building corporation.
Okay, do I have a motion for the consideration of resolution authorizing lease amendment with building corporation?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that, Matt.
I have a motion and a second for the consideration of resolution authorizing lease amendment with the building corporation. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Thank you for that. Mr. McClellan, what's the next step for them for the public consumption?
So we'll put out a notice.
Yes, please. Virtual land needs
Yeah,
to hear you.
so we'll as I mentioned, a notice will go out. There's a 30-day period where somebody could challenge the lease. Really, the challenge that would have had some teeth has already passed. That was the preliminary determination hearings, but we'll be back October 10th. We'll have some form bond documents for you all and for the building corporation before that time. And then we'll also have an appropriation hearing. I'll put out a notice for that too. As part of the process, some property where one of the projects may be located will get added to the leased premises and the real estate under your bond documents. And as part of that, the building corporation will use a portion of the bond proceeds to purchase that from you all. You all will take those funds, keep them with the building corporation along with the other bond proceeds and spend them on the project. But this is the way the Indiana statute works as far as having leased premises that the building corporation can lease to you all, so that there is a true lease in place to make that debt service payment. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions, but we'll get through the 30-day notice period. We'll get through the October meetings, and after around October 25th, then all your approvals will be done and you can proceed with a bond sale. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Action item, no, we're good. We already voted. Mhm. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You didn't want to stay around for the rest of this exciting meeting? Safe travels, sir. Number 2, action item, recommend you approve the driver incentive program, bus driver incentive program, that is, as most districts around are facing difficulties finding bus drivers. So we've implemented or are asking to implement this incentive program to attract them. Mr. Beaton back here was one of our mechanics and our director previously and now co-director. They're driving all the time because we don't have enough bus drivers. And other districts are facing the same dilemma. And they're all, or many of them are doing something very similar if they've not already done so. So I recommend approval of the incentive program.
Do I have a motion to approve the bus driver incentive program?
I'll make a motion. We approve the bus driver incentive program.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the bus driver incentive program. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
The next item is the 2025-2026 district calendar. That's going to be quickly followed up by the 2026-27 calendar. Talked with Mr. Hankins, probably ought to vote on them separately in case there's any discussion or issue with each individual one. One change for public consumption is this year we have a full week at Thanksgiving. The next 2 years, we will not. It'll be the 3 days that we've had previously. That's because of the tight window of time. We didn't want to be coming back after Memorial Day, and we didn't want to come to school and start it in July. So that's why it's back to 3 days there. The calendar this year just fit to where that wasn't necessary. So that's the biggest change. So the 2025-26 action item 3, I recommend approval of.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the 2025-2026 district calendar?
I'll make a motion, Matt, to approve the 2025-2026 district calendar.
Excuse me. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the 2025-2026 district calendar. I have one question. Is there just one e-learning day in the calendar?
Yes,
Okay.
unless we have another solar eclipse that people want to attend. I don't know. Remember last
Yes,
year?
I know we took that for,
Yeah.
but that's too also because of the parent-teacher
Yes, that's
conference.
it's a parent-teacher conference there in October, and it allows for us to have a couple of extra days for parents to make sure they have an opportunity to meet with their teacher. It used to be just one day, one evening, and now they can do it for a couple of days.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second to approve the 2025-2026 district calendar. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Item number 4 is the 26-27 calendar. I recommend approval.
Do I have a motion to approve the 2026-2027 district calendar?
I'll make a motion. We approve the 2026-2027 district calendar.
I have a motion.
I'll second that.
I have a
Matt.
motion and a second to approve the 2026-2027 district calendar. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Thank you. We'll get those posted on our website so families can get on there and start planning. I know vacations sometimes are done a year or two out, so we'll get that on there ASAP. 5 through 13 are donations. Once again, overwhelming support from our community, donating to various schools and organizations, athletics. I'm going to read through so they each get their recognition, but vote in block like we customarily do. Donation from Delta Theta Tau to the MHS National Honor Society, $500. Donation from Melissa Strickland to BIA Bradford Woods for $1,000. Donation from Don Cowden Foundation Incorporated to BIA students for $2,500. Donation from Morgan County Pork Producers to Martinsville High School FFA for $2,400. Donation from Martinsville Candy Kitchen to Martinsville Athletics, $250. Donation from Martinsville Vision Clinic to Martinsville Athletics, $500. Donation from Martinsville Family Eye Care to Martinsville Athletics for $500. Donation from Super Sports to Martinsville High School Athletics, $1,500. Donation from Flow Source to Martinsville High School Athletics in the amount of $4,000. Once again, generous donations and great support from our community, and I recommend approval of these donations.
Do I have a motion to approve the donations that are listed here?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve all the donations that have been given to different schools. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Now we come to the guidelines for public comment. Courtney, do we have anybody to speak?
We already did the guidelines. If you can go ahead.
Well, this is, okay. This is for the ending of meeting, but we can go ahead and have somebody speak. Who's it speaking? Dale, if you would come up, please.
I brought some pamphlets in, if they'd hand them out. I don't know if you got them. It's some information about what I'm going to talk about. My name's Dale Brown. I'm with the retired Marine, and I'm with the Morgan County Marine Corps League Detachment 1367. I want to make you aware that Morgan County, we just got chartered by the Young Marines, a national organization, the 1st of August. And we are the Young Marines, if you're not familiar with it, has been around since 1959. It's a national organization. It's a 501c3 organization, and it has over 230 units and over 6,100 youth and 2,100 adult volunteers in 40 states. We applied for our charter, and again, we got it the 1st of August. The Young Marines is a youth education and service program for boys and girls age 8 through high school graduation. The Young Marines promotes the mental, moral, and physical development of its members. The program focuses on character building leadership and promotes a healthy, drug-free lifestyle. The mission of the Young Marines is to positively influence America's future by providing quality youth development programs for boys and girls that nurtures and develops its members into responsible citizens who enjoy and promote a healthy, drug-free lifestyle. Our volunteers in the Young Marine is a community-based program led by dedicated adults of former, retired, active duty, or reserve Marines who believe passionately that the values they learned as Marines had a positive effect on them. It is through these caring adults that the Young Marines learn the inner values of honor, courage, and commitment. Adult volunteers are individually screened by the Young Marines National Headquarters based on national background information and recommendations provided with each person's application. Upon joining a local Young Marine unit, the youth undergoes a 26-hour orientation program. spread out over several weekly meetings known as recruit training. The youth learned general subjects as history, customs and courtesy, close order drill, physical fitness, military rank structure, land navigation, public speaking, and drug prevention, referred to as DDR, drug demand reduction. After graduating from the Young Marine recruit training, the youth learned additional skills, earned rank, wear a Marine uniform, Young Marine uniform, and work toward ribbon awards in leadership, community service, the DDR program, physical fitness, first aid, CPR, and many other areas to develop their self-confidence, leadership, and teamwork skills. The Young Marines motto is strengthening the lives of American youth.
Sir, I'm sorry, we only allow
Oh,
3 minutes.
okay.
You did a
Yes.
great job, and I
I just
appreciate it.
basically want to come before the school, that we got this going and we're going to come out to the schools and start bringing it on.
We appreciate that.
Thank
guys
you.
have- Well,
Okay?
thank you
If you had
very
any
much.
questions, there's that information I gave,
Yeah.
talks more about it.
Dale, before you leave, Board, I'm going to take personal privilege here and just commend Dale, and I will have to confess, Dale is one of my heroes. I grew up with Dale. He became a Marine out of high school, and he was always a good friend. Do not listen to any stories he shares about our overnight stays in any way, shape, or form. We both grew up in Bloomington. We did. And we're both now artisans. We're both in Martinsville for a reason, which I appreciate. And he served in Operation Desert Shield and Desert Storm. I'll never forget a few of the letters I received while he was stationed there. Dale, I don't know if you remember having Saddam, the rat, in a box, or it was a desert mouse or whatever, and he wrote to me and said, "Hey, I captured Saddam and I put him in a box." And it was one of those that put a smile on my face. But I will tell you that once the war started and Desert Shield turned into Desert Storm, he and his fellow Marines and our forces were in our families' thoughts and prayers the whole time. Yeah, but I wanted to tell you publicly that you're a hero. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me that personal privilege.
You're quite welcome.
That was all the time for your comments, I will add. You don't have time for any more.
I thought the Marine earned it.
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
Daniel, if you'd like to speak.
That might be the funniest thing I've heard this week.
Hello, my name is Daniel Pond. I am an educator. During the 2003-04 school year at Green Township Elementary, I participated in the Lunch Mentor Program with Karen Mimna, Jane Mertz, and Roger Casey, the principal. This presentation focuses on another life saved. Dominic Tahara and his grandmother Karen provided the following testimony. Dominic had a very dysfunctional childhood with issues ranging from PTSD and ADHD. School was a real struggle for him, especially grade school. We enrolled him in martial arts, wrestling, and Little League football to try to give him some structure and discipline. These measures included Daniel Pond meeting with him at school to help him make good choices. He graduated high school, is now 22 years old, and owns his own construction business. Dominic and his grandmother conclude by saying, Dominic and I believe that any kind of outside help that can be given to aid in any child's life and making it more successful is a benefit to us all. Like my son Jared Pond, Dominic's success is not a fluke either. The sign still reads, Green Township School, in partnership with the home, provides an educational environment which all students become successful learners. This is a prime example of partnering with a community for Dominic's wholeness. This is a shining example of what our founding fathers and mothers envisioned for American education. In the Bible, Isaiah says, 32, verse 1 and 2, behold, a king will reign in righteousness, and princes will rule with justice. Each will be like a shelter from the wind, a refuge from the storm, like streams of water in a dry land, like a shadow of a great rock in an arid land. This is yet another call to action to Christians and caring adults to get out of your churches, get out of your houses, and be the shelter, be the refuge, be the rock and the water to help these children experience a full life. Partner with our concerned educators to be a catalyst for restoring hope and a future to these who depend on us to help them be all that God created them to be. Thank you, and be blessed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Quite that tall. Hello, my name is Tim Jeter. I'm a university administrator and a
Could you pull your mic a little
professor.
closer?
Yes,
Thank you, sir.
University professor as well. I just come tonight to ask that you consider reviewing the curriculum. I heard a lot of great things. I just want to know more about the changes that are coming in the future from the state that have sort of modified diplomas and things like that, and how the district plans on both facing those challenges and interacting with the future of education in the state of Indiana that come and all that comes with it. Also how I just want to thank the district as well as the board for their continued work in making sure that the buildings are up to code, because there are quite a few issues with the buildings that I've been able to learn about over time, and it is quite impressive that any of them still have students in them in some ways. So I just think that's something that is important, and people should speak positively about those things, because unfortunately we don't always get to hear them out in public, and I appreciate your guys' lead on that. Additionally, I think that it is important to congratulate the board on its continued success with the iLearn scores. Although 3 out of 7 wouldn't necessarily be an A, it is rather better than it was previously. So I'd like to applaud the board on that as well, and all of the teachers that worked to bring that about. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Jeter. Next, Courtney. That's all. Okay. Okay, that's all we have from the public. And now we go to the superintendent.
And it'll be brief.
Keep that timer up.
Okay, Mr. Pond, appreciated your comments. We are wanting to reinstall, because we no longer have the lunch mentor program. Back during COVID, they cut all visitors out, and we want to invite people back, and we need a formal group to participate and head that up. So we might be calling you to see if you would like to participate in that, and anybody else out there in virtual land that would like to help us, because making those connections is vitally important to a child. So we appreciate our community's involvement and help there. And we will have more information on the pathways, the new graduation requirements. That is rolling out now. They're still I don't want to say messing with it. That sounds kind of negative. They're still manipulating it. So we don't know exactly what's going to look like, but there are going to be challenges, but there are also going to be opportunities. And that's how we're going to look at it. We're going to go at it with opportunities. Speaking of going at it well, Artesian Pride, the football team the other night with that unbelievable come from behind victory earned several honors, and I wanted to highlight a few. The Indy Star High School top performer was named today, Martinsville as an entire team was the top performer for last week, so that is outstanding. The community rallied and voted and earned that honor for our football team. So you supported our football team just like you did on Friday night. And then the Colts NFL Coach of the Week was our own Brian Duggar at the high school. Another great honor. And Mike Pryor came this week and presented a $2,000 check to Martinsville High School Athletics as a recognition for Coach Duggar earning that. And that's a great honor. And now we also have another one of our very own who is up for a soccer player of the week. That's Charlie Rollins. And that was for the week of September 9th through the 14th, where he scored 5 goals in 4 games. And he's up for nomination for that. So Artesian Nation, go out and vote on Facebook again, or get on the link for Indy Star and vote for Charlie. He plays soccer and he also kicks for the football team. A busy young man and deserves our support as well. So I wanted to make sure I mentioned that. So believe it or not, that's all I have.
Board,
Is that good, Jackie?
Yes. No,
any board
you know I'm
comments?
teasing you.
Anybody on the board? have
Well,
any
well, now,
comments?
voting on social media for topics such as that, as our athletes, that would be a great reason. And I appreciate you, Mr. Boland, speaking out about social media and your thoughts about that, about the brave keyboard warriors. I would just like to again stress or encourage to them, especially, if you're going to attack with topics such as morals, integrity, decisions, and transparency. I'm approachable. I live in this town. Besides work, I'm always around. If you have questions or you have, concerns, I would just ask that you come to me personally and speak to me to my face and not post on social media. Thank you.
Just kind of building off of the curriculum special guest, I enjoyed having Mrs. Fraley and Mr. Cuttriff present that. So thank you, Mrs. Lips, Mr. Boland, for all your work in that programming. And just to kind of touch on a couple points, really from pre-K to seniors in high school, there's a great vertical alignment taking place, especially with literacy. I'm a fan of the Amplify pilot program they're doing. So I think there's a lot of neat things, but that along with Project Lead the Way, the career pathways moving up into high school. So I think to the point, no matter how they craft or manipulate or mess with the career pathways, I think we really have a good foundation. And if Mr. Brown's young Marines come in, I think military service is one of the pathways they're looking at also. So like you said, look for the opportunity. So appreciate everybody who's taken a part in that.
And I'll piggyback on the Artesian Pride. I had the honor of attending the IU School of Dentistry white coat ceremony for the class of 2027, and there were actually 2 MHS graduates in that. One was Sydney Biddle, so congratulations to her, and the other was my son, so I'm super proud of him, my son Reed. So 2 Artesians out there doing some good things, so congratulations to them.
Are you and Kip switching dentists then? Or no?
We probably will.
Remember, Timothy's
Yes.
switching.
Yeah, so super proud of those kids, young adults.
I know that in speaking with Heather, about other things, I know Heather and I, I can't speak for Matt, and I'm sure Luke does too, but that we feel the same way that, for our students, our kids that have graduated, never one time did I ever wonder if they were prepared for the future, not once. So piggybacking on both of you, I appreciate the programs and the things that we offer and the efforts that every educator and everyone that has a hand in the education for the student. I appreciate that because I don't worry about them being prepared for the future because I know that they will be.
Yeah, I had 4 graduate from here, and I knew they were ready. They were ready to go chase their
Absolutely.
dreams. So.
And I had 2.
Yeah.
And I want to mention too, this is a former student that I am very proud of, was here for Operation Football, Samantha Johnson. She continues to shine for Martinsville High School as an alumnus on WTHR on the morning show. She did Operation Football last week, talked about how great our students were. And also another former graduate received the Colts Coach of the week before, who was one of my teammates, is Tim Abel for Triton Central. So I thought that was kind of interesting. You have a former Artesian and the new Artesian football coach get Coach of the Week, and Samantha, Heather's children, and how they've been, just all these former MHS graduates. And we want to continue moving forward with that, the positives that are happening here at Martinsville High School and going forward in the future and getting better all the time. So I guess that's all I have to say. Again, one other thing, I went this week and said thank you to a bus driver that she's been driving a bus forever. She would be embarrassed if I mentioned her name, but she drives out in Sharman Estates every day. You see her. Just the people that do security, we need all those people. They do a fabulous job. They're unsung heroes, along with the teachers, the support staff, the food service, the bus drivers, instructional aides. We need them all. And to elaborate that, mentors, it all takes all of us to provide a great corporation, from the superintendent all down through the ranks. So I want to applaud those people tonight and say a big thank you. So that's all I have. And next, I would like to see if we have a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I have a motion to.
I'll second.
And I have a second. We have a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Just as I'm sitting here, I got a notification, Charlie Rollins scored a goal, and we're up 2-0 on Franklin Grizzly Cubs in soccer. Timely, timely.